Well, it may be chilly up here in Canada where I'm sitting, but I tell you what, it is very warm down there on the racing surface right now. Welcome to Arizona, and welcome to Phoenix Raceway for yet another round here of the ISCA ButtKicker Super Cup Series. Of course, the Normal Cup Series taking a bit of a week off this time around for Week 13 in iRacing. The Normal Cup Series will be started back up for 2021 Season 2 just next week. We're here at the GTEYE 156. Nolan Wemple standing by beside you with Al Kozlowski assignment in the commentary box today. Al, my goodness, it is a beautiful day down there on the resurface right now. No doubt we're in for a throw today.
It is going to be a fun one. Phoenix is typically a very difficult track to ride and drive, and we're going to go in-car right quick with one of our drivers, Mr. Brian Johnson in this Ford machine. Brian Johnson, Al Kozlowski in the booth. You got a copy?
Sir, go ahead, Al.
Brian, we're going to do an in-car ride along with you real quick. If you can kind of tell some of our viewers on how this car is handling and some key points in this track and what to do and not do at this track to avoid the big one.
We're handling pretty good. It's a very tricky track because you have two different corners, two different types of banking. Really the key is not to burn up your stuff too fast here. I mean, you can easily overdrive the corner by going in too fast and then too hot off. So the car's going to go through some changes throughout the race. You may start out a little bit loose, and then about 20 laps in you'll get it a little bit tight, and then the thing is like on ice for the rest of the run. So it's really about managing your tires, managing your stuff, staying out of the wall, and then not burning up your rear tires.
I got you. And we're seeing to the left of you, that is what they infamously call the dog leg. And we'll see a lot of guys driving down there trying to make the pass, sometimes 3 wide through there, and then they got to squeeze into this turn 4 right here. And coming off of this is probably where we're going to see the majority of our wrecks. Would you agree?
It gets a little sketchy going through that dog leg, especially if you have laps on your tires. And also early in a restart, in a run, you're going to see guys dive bombing, trying to make moves early on, because this track is tough in dirty air. Once you get behind somebody, it's really hard to pass. Once it gets slick, it's even worse. So be prepared to see a lot of 2-3 wide racing early on, going through that dog leg and into turn 3 and 4.
Now, Brian, you mentioned to preserve your tires and save them a little bit. What are some of the key things that we can do to do that, or what you're going to be doing during the race to make sure these tires last you?
Backing up the corner a little bit, don't force it, and then just throttle management coming off. You don't want to go all out full throttle coming off the corner, otherwise you'll burn your stuff up in 20 laps and you're just wrecking loose at that point. So, just easy in and easy out, and hopefully you'll have some rubber left over at the end of the run.
Well, it looks like according to your RPMs, we've got a lot of braking coming into these corners. Is that what you brake early and then you kind of let off of it and you ride the corner to steer through it? Is that what we got going on?
Back it up a little bit because you want to get that run off. It's really about the momentum coming off the corner. So you back it up a little bit, that'll save your right front tire, and just let it coast through the corner. Then you just gradually pick up the throttle. You don't want to hammer down, but you just want to gradually roll into it.
So watching a lot of the A-Opens this week, Brian, it looks like survival is the name of the game, and to be the front of this pack is probably going to be the safest position. It looks like right now in practice, you're the fastest out there. You think you're going to knock this out in a good qualifying lap, stay at the front of this thing and stay away from this mess?
That's the goal. We'll try to qualify, see if we can get at least up in the top 5. We got some heavy hitters in here. We got Boyd, Chris, Clayton. All these guys are really good. They're all clean racers too, so hopefully this will go green the whole way, because all these guys are really good in this league.
Good job, buddy. Looks like my pick to win the race was the 21 of Chad Sullivan, but that's just been placed with the 7 of Wayne Grossi. So let's try to stay away from Wayne, because we do want him to at least finish the race clean and break this lucky streak I have going on with picking the loser every race. So good luck to you, Brian, and I can't wait to talk to you soon and at least a podium, if not a win.
We'll see. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, brother. Congratulations, and it looks like you're second fastest right now. You just have a little bit, 9/1000ths of a second to catch up to take that fastest lap back from Christopher Pfeiffer in that 42.
Be a good race.
Well, good luck to you, Brian. Hope to talk to you soon. Have a good race, bud.
Thanks, guys.
Just over 1 mile long, 1.6 kilometers is the racing surface. We would once again like to thank Brian Johns for taking the time to join us up here in the booth to take us on a bit of a tour around this beautiful facility. This is, of course, the configuration that was used after the track's infield dogleg section was paved after 2011. However, it is not the latest configuration, as the track was again repurposed in 2019 with a renovated pit road. Not to mention the start-finish line was moved halfway around the track. This is still back when that front straightaway was when the start-finish line was out there on the front straightaway between what is now turn 1 down the very long front straightaway here. So that is going to make things very interesting now, because it's kind of like Gateway in a lot of respects, this track. Turns 1 and 2 tend to be a little bit tighter, but they have a little bit more banking on them as well.
Well, the interesting points that we want to watch during the race, obviously, is drivers getting extremely loose off these corners because they put too much throttle in it, like Brian was explaining to us there. But pit road is almost dead center. The entrance is almost dead center of turn 3 and 4. And these drivers getting onto that, they're either going to have to enter on the very first part of turn 3 as they come into it, or we're going to see some of them that are going to risk it and try to come right onto it right away, right in the middle there. Those drivers I expect to see sliding all over the place. But this is going to be hopefully a very clean race, as we do have some very good drivers here. But as it sits right now, our field is roughly about 15 strong. This is a very small field, so we shouldn't have that many cautions tonight unless we have some late contenders coming in.
About half a minute away here from getting qualified underway, so let's take a quick step away. We'll take some time to thank the sponsors for tonight's presentation, and we'll be right back after these messages.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Well, this is a bit of an interesting development here. Open qualifying for tonight out. All the cars on the track at one time and more than 2 laps. What do you make of this one?
Well, it is silly week at iRacing, so this is nothing changing. I mean, before we got into this, we had a night race set up for practice, and I kind of thought we should have just stuck with it. Let's run this bad boy at night. Phoenix at night. Let's do it. But we didn't do it. So this open qualifying is just another mix we threw in here to kind of let these guys get more practice, because I think they're going to all need more practice behind the wheel. As we're going to watch this tonight, Nolan, there's only going to be 15 cars in this field, so it's a very small field. A typical A Open runs anywhere between 25 to 32 cars in a field, and it's a lot of wrecks. So this should not be a big wreck fest tonight. I don't even know what to say about this show up for tonight. This is a very slim field we got. It should be fairly good.
Second run down through the point stands while we're waiting for the lap time to come in. And by the way, Clayton Hoffman currently sits on pole position. He is currently sitting 5th place in the Super Cup Series standings with 106 points compared to Boyd Hogan's 137. Hogan is not expected to stay on the top of the time boards as he cannot run the full season. He also finished 3rd in the last season of the Cup season. finished the most laps in that season as well, but was not able to come on top with the win. That, in fact, was Boyd Hogan in a surprise turn of events. We thought it would be Delaney to win the series, the season just last week, actually, Al. Well, turns out Hogan cashed in on one of his provisionals, and he took the championship away by just 4 points.
Yeah, that's a little sneaky mulligan that we have inside this league, where if you are unable to race an event, you can get a provisional. That means you take the very last position in that race, and you get points for that. But this so happened, last week we only had, 14 drivers, so he finished 15th, and that's basically all he needed to do to seal his championship. So that's how he ended up winning the championship. He had that far of a point lead that's what he did. But right now we've got Clayton Hoffman. Looks like he is the fastest so far at 26.523. Brian Johnson, who we just talked to, is at 26.683. Wayne Grossi in that 7 machine is at 26.722. Justin Belmonte in the 30 machine is a 26.772. And my pick to win the race at 21 of Chad Sullivan ran at 26.851. For those of you that don't know, when I pick a driver to win a race for many seasons to go now, it's been historical that it's not very good for that driver. And I'm hoping the 21 machine can break this unlucky streak I have and not only finish clean in this race and finish this race, but hopefully win this race. That would be a phenomenal turning point for me, because that would break this bad streak I have of picking a winner.
Ken Powell just put himself up into the 6th position, climbed about 5 spots on the boards there, just outside of the top 5 by about a tenth and a half. The battle for the lead was looking close. There were only 0.07 of a mile apart, but Hoffman, just 1 lap ago, extended that gap out to about a tenth and a half at this point in time. So you got the top 4 separated by about a quarter of a second. Slowest driver at the moment is Christopher Pfeffer. I believe we just had some contact out there on the track, actually. Disregard that. Clayton Hoffman just had himself a little bit of a slide there right in front of Brandon Drummiller, who had to abandon his lap as a result.
Well, no, like we talked earlier with the driver of that number 4 machine, Brian Johnson, tire preservation is going to be key here. These guys, they race side by side long enough. The preferred line to coming into these turns is the low line. Some of these drivers may use the high line, but the cars push up off the turns. So if you're on that high line and your car happens to push up, the only spot for you to go is in the wall. A little bit of damage here with this new upgrade that iRacing's give us. A little bit of damage right there will ruin a race for a driver. So a fender damage, door damage, anything could cause a driver this race. So let's watch and see how this is going to unfold. We're going to wind down right now. We've got 15 seconds left in practice, and right now looks like sitting on the pole is that 92 machine of Clayton Hoffman, and on the outside will be the 4 machine of Brian Johnson, and behind Clayton Hoffman will be the 7 of Wayne Grossi, and on Wayne's outside will be the 30 of Justin Belmonte, and that's your first 2 rows. Let's let this thing wind down, and we'll go through the field.
Before we do that, we'll swing it over to the national anthem, and we'll be right back.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free?
famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engine!
And welcome back to Phoenix Raceway. The national anthem has been sung. The Grand Marshal's words have rang out over the loudspeakers. We're ready to go racing here for 156 laps for the GTEYE 156. Let's take a run down through the starting grid. Clayton Hoffman starts on pole with Brian Johnson in second. Wayne Grossi sits third with Justin Belmonte outside him to round out the top two rows. Chad Sullivan and Chris Johnson round out row number 3 with Kenny Powell, Greg Wyszynski 7th, 8th, Matthew Cisna and Jeff Shutt 9th and 10th. Brandon Drumhiller sits 11th with Christopher Pfeffer in 12th. Boyd Hogan 13th, Christopher Hill 14th, Suzuki 15th, Paul Olsen rounds out a 16-car field. Looks like the pack's just about ready to get set to rumble here, Al. What are your final thoughts for us here before we go and take that green flag?
Well, speaking of rumble, I'm about to turn on my butt kicker here and see what this thing's going to do with these wrecks and everything. This thing ought to be amazing. Butt kicker is a thing to have if you're into any kind of motorsports or virtual racing or even virtual flying, and even if you have a home entertainment system, you'll want to have this. It brings the immersion of reality. Here we go, Nolan. We're going to start this parade lap out, and it does look like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is Clayton going to take the inside line?
He will. Your pole sitter, of course, sitting on that inside row, exactly where you'd want to be through the dog leg for the final time today. That's going to be the interesting thing today. We'll no doubt have seen a lot of drivers going below that dog leg to get those positions early on. You are, of course, allowed to go down there at your own risk. Drivers technically do not need to let you back up because you're no longer on the racing surface. Through turns 3 and 4, though, for the final time today before we take that green flag. Hoffman is definitely ready to start this one off on a high. Boyd Hogan started all the way in the back. This will be interesting for him to see what he can make here on this race start. The pace car pulls up, though. It's now in the hands of Clayton Hoffman, who's going to take them off of turn 4 onto that fur and straightaway. We're ready to rumble here in Arizona. He's on the lap pedal. We're up and away.
Some of these drivers sitting in the back, Nolan, are playing it very cautious because they don't know what this first lap is going to bring. We already 3 wide. No, 3 wide in the back of this field. Oh my gosh. Okay, here's a dog leg. You see everybody jumps down there. Some of these drivers stay up to the top. And some of them are taking it extremely far in that dog leg. And we're going to try to do, looks like we're going to make this first turn. First lap is uneventful. Nobody really slid in anybody. That's not going to be lasting too much longer here. As soon as these tires start eating up, we're going to start seeing these guys sliding into each other.
Boyd Hogan took his car all the way down to the wall in the dog leg. I thought it was going to bounce off the wall and up into the field for a hot minute there. He's currently in a fight with Matthew Cisna, trying to find his way back up through the field. Looks like Greg Wyszynski is also in a battle with Pfeffer in the 42 machine, and it looks like Cisna's going to slide up behind Hogan as Hogan gets up on the inside up. Kenny Powell trying to make positions inside the top 10 now. Hogan clears, making that pass look easy off of turn number 2. Already the field is completely single filed out, and we should be seeing this race settle into kind of the base rhythm of things very, very quickly here.
Oh, it's not going to settle in. These guys are they're going to get rambunctious. Clayton Hoffman's got a great lead right now in front of the 4 machine of Brian Johnson, about almost 3/4 of a second. And that's only going to grow. I mean, it depends on how bad. If Clayton is using up his tires and Brian's back there just preserving his, like he said he was going to, he's going to slowly close that gap up and get around it.
Looks like the battle might be on for positions just outside the top 10s. Matthew Cisna in the number 10 car just had a bit of a loose moment. They got that back end to bite around on him off of turn number 4, nearly lost it. Christopher Hill in the 11 is trying to find his way underneath here. This is all allowing Kenny Powell to try to pull a little bit of a gap on the field behind as he's trying to run down Greg Wyszynski, who's just up the road from Boyd Hogan. Hogan is still trying to work his way through the grid. Of course, Hogan started all the way back in the 13th place today, and already in just 5 laps, he's worked his way up another 4 spots. Up front, Christopher Pfeffer looks to be having a look here on Chris Johnson into turn 1 for the battle for 6th.
Yeah, these drivers are picking their passing points very, very, very cautiously. I mean, nobody wants to slide up into another driver because not only do you ruin that driver's race, but you ruin your race. So they're, oh, Matt Cisna, I mean, he had closed in on that. Boy, he almost rear-ended that. Is that Kenny Powell in that 24 machine?
It certainly is. Sisto seems to be kind of unsettled at the moment. He needs to get into a rhythm of things. It looks like he's really overdriving these corners, especially in the middle, as he overruns the exit of turn 1. Again, that allows now Christopher Hill to get onto his side of that 11th machine. This isn't the path for 11th. So we're about to see that 11th car up in 11th, and this time Sisto's got to step by the wall. Oh, maybe not. Sisto's going to try to use that outside line to fight back here.
Yeah, he must have a very good handling car to be able to ride that high. Oh, and as I say that, he hits the wall. That again, you can cut a tire down, you could scratch or bend a fender up or something that prevents you from having the downforce that you need on that front end to turn this car.
Up front, Wachinski just made a pass on Chris Johnson as well, so the 48 is continuing to tumble down the order. Chris Johnson started in 6th. He's now all the way back to 9th and continuing to drop down the order. He's now kind of in the clutches there of Kenny Powell, who's trying to have a look at him around as well. That's going to be the battle for 9th at the moment as Powell continues to try to improve inside the top 10. But Johnson's trying to have a fight back here on Greg Wachinski into the dog leg.
Yeah, it's really too early to be battling for a position, guys. Let's just kind of settle in where we are and ride this thing out and wait till the battle. Save the battles for like 20 laps to go. Let's just not get too rambunctious because you're going to meet that wall by accident. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to meet it. Somebody behind you is going to meet you. So kind of calm it down here. We need to finish this race.
Wachinski with a massive slide for the entry of turn number 1. Had that back end really stepped out, just barely managed to keep that thing under control. He's all over the place at the moment trying to keep Kenny Powell behind him. Powell's going to chase Wachinski up the racetrack and then dive down to that yellow line and managed to get right through on the inside. Beautiful pass there for the 24, who's going to pick up the 9th position. Wachinski continues to drop down the order. You got to remember, a lot of these drivers might be trying to make these spots up early because they realize that if they let these guys build the gap, they're not ever going to be able to get it back again.
Well, meanwhile, we've got Clayton Hoffman at 92 machine. He's got a very comfortable 1.5 second gap between him and second place Brian Johnson. And behind Brian Johnson, he's got not even a half a second, when he does have a half a second now before third place of Wayne Grossi, and that 7 machine catches him. So it looks like Clayton Hoffman at the moment has got a winning setup and a winning car. Let's see how long that's going to last.
It's going to be interesting to see how long the fuel's going to last for a lot of these guys. Got another battle on the back. Cisna continuing to tumble down the order as it looks like now Jeff Shutt in that number 25 machine is going to find his way to the inside of the 10. The 10 continuing to just not have any grip whatsoever on corner exit. That is where he's really starting to hurt here.
Yeah, Nolan, the track is at 102 degrees and the air temp is at 76, and we have relative humidity at 24%. So these guys probably came light on the front end tape here, on the grill tape. When you see pit stops, it's probably going to be a little bit longer for some of these guys. They're probably going to add some of that grill tape onto this car so they have more downforce on this turning.
Surely mid-used metric system, 102 degrees Fahrenheit equates to roughly 38.9 degrees Celsius. So it is a very, very hot track out there at the moment. 76 degrees in the air. So that just shows you how quickly this track surface can heat on up. Speaking of heating on up, the battle for 6th is starting to heat on up. Let's take a look up there as the 42 car is currently in the midst of a battle with Boyd Hogan. The 42 just clipped the wall on the exit of turn number 4. Hogan looked for the inside, but was not able to get the run he needed. Now he's going to try to get this run, though, on the exit of 2.
Yeah, we'll see him going extremely low on this dog leg back here and trying to get that speed off of there. And it doesn't work, but it does look like the 42 has conceded. And that 42 looks like a teammate of his, I believe, or he's running a Reaper Speed Labs paint scheme, so I would assume that would be a teammate of Boyd Hogan.
Well, Hogan's already worked his way up over half of the running order, well, in just 16 laps out of 156, so Hogan is on an absolute tear right now. He just got one more driver to pick off where he's into the top 5, and that is Chad Sullivan. And at the moment, Sullivan is just a few car lengths up the road.
Yeah, but he has a big 6 seconds to get to the leader. I mean, that is a long time at this track.
Yeah, 6 seconds in a road course usually doesn't seem like too much. When you put that in on an oval, it can really be a lifetime. If you're on a track like Martinsville, it could be about half a lap at most as well. tell you, this has still been a pretty decent race so far. We've had a lot of passing early on. Of course, this usually means that we're going to be seeing the action kind of die off as we get towards that middle portion of the race, when everybody's tires start to catch up to them, and everybody's starting. They have to get conservative to make sure that they don't find themselves running it into the wall.
Yeah, Boyd Hogan is approximately about a quarter of the track behind the leader right now. If you do the average times right now to get around this track is roughly about 28.2, 28.3 on an average. Some of these guys, that time will go go up to 29 or 30 seconds to get around this track, depending on how much time they got on those tires. So as this race goes on, these tires will stay green. These lap times will certainly fall down fast.
Greg Wyszynski had a bad turn too, but now he's being put under pressure by Christopher Hill, who tried to have a look around the outside of the turn 3. Hill had to back off though in order to avoid running over that number 2 car as as Wyszynski came to the racetrack and tried to clear himself. We saw how well that worked though for Kenny Powell at Homestead last week.
Well, so far, Kenny Powell in that 24 machine is doing fairly well. I mean, he is staying in the top 10, which out of we have 16 cars on the track. I mean, that's fairly good, you know. If he can get himself up there in the top 5 before this race, wow, the 11, Christopher Hill gets squirrely in the rear end there, so his tires must be wearing in. As this is about the time we start seeing these guys get a little squirrely. We're 21, 22 laps on these tires. And they're abusing them pretty good. I mean, it doesn't look like that when you're watching the race, but they are battling here. They're not just taking it easy.
It's a track where you really have to work the entire time, and there's a reason why drivers are often a lot more tired after this race than a lot of others. It is usually very, very hot, and the cars are certainly not easy to control. I mean, I go as far to say as this is probably one of the most difficult tracks you can find on the Cup Series schedule, just because of how unique the track is, both in nature and in climate. As actually, just to prove my point, Matthew Sisda just had a big slide at the turn number 1 and had to check out to about 80 miles an hour.
Well, no, as I was saying that, looks like Christopher Hill, I was watching him, he manually disconnected. So he must be having issues with that hot rod he was driving, and he decided to get out of the race before he wrecked.
I'm not sure what happened there. He just dropped out in the middle of turn 1, didn't even stop. He was still up to speed, so no idea what happened there for Christopher Hill. The battle's on 14th and 13th, though. Randy Drumhiller has caught Matthew Sisda and is trying to find a way through. Sisda is continuing to struggle greatly. These drivers are about a quarter or a third of the track back as well from your race leader, Clayton Hoffman. We're only 24 laps in.
Yeah, Clayton Hoffman has put out a almost 2.5 second gap between him and second place Brian Johnson. And behind Brian Johnson is an additional 2.5 seconds back to third place, Wayne Grossi. And it's slightly, about a second, maybe a half a second, you have Justin Belmonte in that 30 machine. And then my pick to win at 21, Chad Sullivan, is roughly about 6 seconds behind the leader.
The battle might be heated up here for, I believe that is the 5th position, I want to say, as Sullivan is starting to lose a bit more time here to Boyd Hogan. Hogan was quicker by almost a 10th the last time by on lap number 24, and Hogan is continuing to close. He is starting to really apply the pressure now to the back end of that number 21 car, trying to find some way through.
Well, very interesting to see. Looking at my stats here, it looks like the 4 machine is roughly about a 1/10 of a second faster than the leader, Clayton Hoffman, right now, last time by. So I'm wondering if Clayton Hoffman has used his tires up. Now that 2.3 second gap, let's see if that starts to shrink. Because as of this time by, it was a 28.394 Clayton Hoffman ran, and a 28.349 was Brian Johnson in that 4 machine. That doesn't seem like a lot of time, but that's enough to start closing in. It was about a 2.5 second gap between them, and now it's at a 2.2 second. So let's see if this dwindles down and if Brian Johnson in that 4 machine starts to catch Clayton Hoffman.
One driver that has been caught is the 21 of Chad Sullivan. Hogan is, at this point, just about 1 or 2 laps away from making this move complete, because he gets so close that he can practically start kissing the back bumper of that 21 Ford Mustang on the entry to each one of these corners. Hogan has just been so on it today. but both drivers are struggling so greatly. In fact, let's take a ride on board here with Boyd Hogan if we can, as he tries to make this pass here on Chad Sullivan. Just watch the wheel work here as he does dive out the inside of Sullivan that last time by. He has to work this wheel so much. We're going to see this especially in turn 1 because he was seesawing that thing back and forth trying to keep it going in a straight line.
This track, it will use every bit of your arm muscles and your feet muscles because there's a lot of pedal control and there's extremely a lot of arm control, if you will. And you'll see that sawing back and forth at the wheel, left, right, left, right, left, right, a lot of these drivers all throughout the race. I don't care which one you're in the car with, that's not going to change. They're trying to do whatever they can do to kind of make those front tires turn.
Turn 1 seems to be the trouble spot for Hogan because that is where we can really start to see that wheel start to shoot over to the right. Clips the apron, though, that last time by on lap 30, and so he was a bit more stable this time around, which is a bit ironic because usually clipping the apron unsettles your car more than it does planting it on the ground.
Well, it's interesting. I just seen sparks out of the back of Boyd Hogan as he entered into the dogleg. So I wonder if that rear is too low and he doesn't have enough of that downforce on that rear end to keep his rear stable. Let's watch and see if we go out of his car here as he gets around turn 1 here. Let's watch as he enters that dogleg, see if he sparks again. He didn't. He must have entered it at a wrong spot there because there is a very big transition between that dogleg and the track. But he had some sparks coming from that rear end.
The 42 car has just passed Sullivan as well for 6th place, and now Sullivan's about to lose another spot here to Chris Johnson across the start-finish line. That will bump that 21 car all the way down to 8th now, so the 21 car has used his equipment up now, trying to fight back here on Chris Johnson, but he is just not going to have the run that he needs off the corner to make that pass work.
Nolan, I am going to need Chad Sullivan to calm it down here because I'm trying to break this streak I have of losing. He needs to calm it down. I need him to finish this thing and let everybody else wreck. Which is a big ask. I mean, we're talking about these guys, and I don't want to use the word pro because some folks will think these guys are going to be in the Coke Series next week. But these are some of the elite drivers ISCA's got. We don't allow just anybody to come in here. You have to kind of prove yourself as a clean, stable driver, and we have some of probably the cleanest out there.
Hang on, Cecil Keith just had a massive ball. In fact, we should probably take another look at it. It was the first really loose one we saw all day, and it actually came from a wrong entry. Huge misjudgment in the dogleg on lap 33 for Cecil Keith. Clipped the transition, but didn't go all the way down there, so that backing on the saddle, he almost hit the inside wall because of it.
Well, there we go. We're saying it again. We have, drivers that can maintain and be able to keep it off the wall. If you're going to spin out, you don't want to spin out on the front stretch. If you're going to spin out, I would want to probably do it exiting turn 1 or 2 there and try to catch that dogleg because you have a lot of real estate there to be able to lose control before you hit the wall.
Yeah, luckily, Cecil Keith managed to keep it under control, but I don't think I've ever really seen the vehicle lose the car on the transition in that spot. That's a first for me.
Yeah. We're probably going to see some pit stops here. Everybody is probably not that happy with their car right now as they're losing traction greatly. I mean, we're still not in, the 29-second laps here, except for Cecil Keith, Randy Drumhiller, Matt Cisna, and Paul Olson. They're all running around in the 29-second lap times. But we're still got the leaders who are running identical times last time by, 28.545 for both Clayton Hoffman and Brian Johnson. And I guess the gap between them has not really decreased that much. It has gotten under 2 seconds. It's at 1.883 this time by.
Soon as we're here, let's take a rundown through the season standings so far for the Super Cup Series. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe this will be round number 3 for the Super Cup Series in their venture. Check me on that one. This will be round number 5 for them overall. They started at Daytona about a month ago. Then we ran to the road course, Homestead, Miami, Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and now we're here at Phoenix in between Cup seasons 1 and 2. Of course, the Cup Series and the Super Cup Series do run parallel to each other. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about this place is just about this series is the fact that you got really 2 championships going on at the same time, which means you got 2 different types of drivers competing for different prizes on the same track. It really is something.
Boyd Hogan, I'm riding in car with Boyd Hogan, and he has got his hands full. He is getting squirrely everywhere. And a lot of times they say loose is fast, but I don't know. Loose to me seems scary. If you go in car with Boyd Hogan real quick, you can see he's doing everything he can to keep this thing on the track, off the wall, off another car. He's just manhandling this car.
It's not a very easy thing at all when you're trying to, figure out how you're going to keep this car underneath you. And it's this is what I was saying about Phoenix. It's such a difficult track to drive as well. It is so easy to get loose off of these corners, and the very hot track also makes the track very loose as well. I want to point out it has cooled off by about 4 degrees Fahrenheit since this race started, which is a bit interesting because usually we see that temperature rise as the day goes on. Of course, it is about 1:30-ish in the afternoon in sim time here on the racing surface, so I think that might be some of the maybe the weather played into a factor.
No, and I'm simply amazed that these drivers have not come down pit road yet. We're at lap 40 and nobody is looking for pit road. I don't know what they're trying to do here. If they're going to try to run this out and see if they can make this a one-stop race or what, but I fully expected some drivers to come down pit road.
Well, these guys only have 4 sets of tires. That's 3 plus the ones they started on. So these guys might be trying to conserve those tires a little bit more, maybe push really hard in the long run and stretch it out early. But you got to remember as well, we've seen time and time again some people try to make the two-stopper strategy work, and it never really has. So some people might just be elected to be really conservative in the early going here.
It would benefit somebody greatly if they came in roughly maybe lap 45, make it a two-stopper. And that's what, if I was in the race, I would do that, because I'm losing time dramatically right now. I'm not losing that much time because I'm not that much slower than the leaders right now. But if I can gain 2 seconds a lap on them, I can not only, I'll be down a lap, obviously, when I pit, maybe 2 laps, but I'll get those laps back and be able to be so much faster that I can probably gain some position. So if I'm in the back of the field, I may be pitting in the next 3 or 4 laps.
Hogan's trying to have another go here, trying to pick up another position. This one on Justin Belmonte. The 30 car runs a little bit wide through turns 3 and 4, but that allows it to get the corner, or the momentum that it needs off the corner. You can dive it off the corners really, really well here. We see Indy cars actually do it all the time. But now Belmonte really started to wash wide and turn 1, step back end out. That's going to open the door for Hogan. Is going to sweep by on the outside of the dog leg and clear before they even get to 3.
Yeah, you definitely want to watch yourself, but Boyd is going beneath that yellow line on these turns, and it seems to be working for him. But I've never seen anybody be able to do that successfully without the rear end sliding right out from behind him.
He might be using that to help him turn in, because the guy can might as well that with the very flat corners here, he could be starting to plow tight. So if he uses that transition to kind of keep the car loose, there is no rule about going below the yellow line here at Phoenix. It really is more of a suggestion line. He could use that to actually help him turn the car in better. Now the battle's on for 6th and 5th as Christopher Pfeffer is trying to throw his hat into the ring.
Yeah, and as you see that's where the most air is yanked out the rear end of these cars, is Indy's coming out of these turns. Oh, he's in there pretty tight, but at 42 almost took out that rear end of that 30, and that would have been a spin around. As he gives him a little love tap saying, "I'm back here, quit pinching me."
The emotions are starting to run high.
Yeah, he's now it's going to be return to favor for the 30. He can get on that rear bumper. He may give him a little love tap back.
And it's turn 1. Belmonte's going to back off. Decided it wasn't quite worth it to start a grudge match this early on in the race, but he still got over 100 laps to go. Well, that's about the closest we've gotten to a caution all day long. It's worth noting as well that Belmonte does have right front damage down quite significantly at that, because the reason why Pfeffer was able to close so much is because Belmonte nailed the wall coming off of turn 2 as well that last time by as a result of that pinch.
Yeah, I got an in-car with Justin Belmonte because I thought, listening to him run those laps, I thought he was downshifting in the turns, but apparently he is not. Which, Nolan, is not an uncommon thing to watch some of these drivers do. They will downshift. We got the 7. Looks like the 7. Did he just say that he's going to come in and pit?
Possibly, so we could see our first bout of green flag pit stops here. We'll kind of take a look with Wayne Grossi here and see if he comes down to the lane this time by. It might be coming in going for the two-stopper strategy. Grossi looks like he is staying out.
Yeah, it looks like he's staying out.
Out of letting somebody through. Let's take a rundown now at those point standings for the Super Cup Series here. I kind of lost focus on where I was, went on my own little ramble earlier. Point Hogan is currently in the lead with 8 points coming into the day, 137 total. He's got an 8-point lead on the field. Of course, that's not expected to stay as he is currently committed to Road to Pro. Is only able to make it here on a bi-weekly basis. Jonathan Delaney is sitting in second place, 8 points back. He's also the runner-up for the first normal Cup season series of 2021. Nick Robinson is sitting third with 19 points. Dan Schmoon fourth, 30 points back. Clayton Hoffman tied with Brian Johnson to round out the top 5, 31 points back from Hogan.
Well, Nolan, I have to tell you, I'm extremely impressed with some of these guys because right now they're consistently, nobody's running above a 28.7, 28.9, something like that. You know, they're all consistently running. The first one to the front of this field to be in the 29 seconds a lap is going to be the 7 of Wayne Gross. Everybody else is still in the very high 28s, 28.6, 28.7s, somewhere in that, which is extremely amazing for 52 lap tires.
I mean, surely we got to get some people that are going to be coming down here at around lap 60 or so. If not, then we're going to be seeing people stretching this stuff out to at least lap 75 or lap 80, trying to make it on the fuel. I think that's what some people are already trying to do. We do have a few cars already laps down. Those drivers are Christopher Hill, Paul Olson, Matthew Sizza just went 1 lap down. And has Randy Drummond gone a lap down? I believe he just did this lap.
Yeah, that's definitely a bad thing already to have that many drivers lap down in a 16. So Keith is literally, he is about 6 seconds away from being in the next car lap down. If I can't believe they're not pitting though, and this is just, I'm in awe of this.
Well, I'm going to look here to Clayton Hoffman and kind of looking at his laps as it goes through. He was hitting about 26s, then was at 27 laps until about lap 17. He's been in an even 28 lap range from about mid to high ever since about lap 27. So he's been able to really make the mid to high 28s work for a solid 40 laps now. I don't think he sees a whole lot of things come out of it. Paul's already a lap down, so he might just be abandoned at this point, just trying to come away with some points here. Maybe trying to see if he can maybe get his lap back as well when the other guys come down. We're going for the undercut and then hoping for a caution so we can stay on the lead lap, which wouldn't be a bad strategy in all honesty.
Yeah, definitely would benefit him greatly. Plus, he's going to have the advantage of about a 2 second per lap advantage to getting himself back to this field a little bit better. He is going to go down 2 laps. By this pit stop, he's going to go 1 more lap down, but he can get that lap back and still be a lap down and waiting for the leaders to pit. And that would give him an ability, if he can get that 1 lap back. Let's watch that 43 machine and see what kind of lap times he runs as he comes off pit road.
We'll have to wait 1 lap to get a really accurate result here, or maybe even 2 laps to get an accurate result, because he's got to get those tires up to temperature first, and it is not the longest of lap times around here. So we'll come back to this one in about maybe a lap or 2 here and see how Paul Olson is faring. Right now, there really is nobody else kind of on the track now in this battle. Everybody's kind of running just on their lonesome right now. Nobody's really engaged in any active fights with anybody else.
Well, you know that gap between first and second is closed down to a 1.3 second gap from a 1.8, almost 2 second gap before. So Brian Johnson in that 4 machine is reeling in the leader.
27.510, the first lap on fresh tires for Paul Olson. That is roughly 1 second faster than race leader Clayton Hoffman. We'll see what this next lap is, because now Olson's tires are up to temperatures and in their optimal temperature range. So he's just coming through 3 and 4 now, so we'll see how this will compare to Hoffman's lap times. Olson's definitely faster than Hoffman at the moment, that we can safely say that. That's more like it. A 27.3 for Paul Olsen in the 43 car, and another 28.5 for Clayton Hoffman.
Yeah, that 27.378 is Paul Olsen's best lap of the race so far. So he must have done some changes. Maybe he added some tape to the front of that grill or something. So we can expect to see him coming back to the field rather easily, as he's got Matthew Sisson in front of him, who's running 30-second laps, and he is literally 3 seconds faster than Matt Sisson.
And Olsen sweeps past Cecil Keith, takes that one easily. Tell you what, we're about 60 laps into this thing at this point in time. Got 96 laps remaining in the GTEYE at 156. Let's take a quick break here. We'll be right back.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at TheButtKicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
The battle for third appears to be closing on in. Boyd Hogan has been steadily reeling in Wayne Grossi for the past several laps, and in fact, he is still a couple tenths quicker every lap or so, over a quarter second that last time by. Wayne Grossi has dropped off in his fight. We'll keep on this battle for third, but while we're watching this fight for third, we do want to quickly touch up on that battle for the lead and mention that Hoffman has lost significant time to Brian Johnson as well. That gap at about 1.2 seconds now.
Yeah, that number 4 machine, as you told us during the practice there earlier on, Brian Johnson, that gave us a little ride along, he told us he was going to be preserving his tires. And I think Clayton Hoffman, I would assume, is doing the same thing. As we were talking about it during the break, I'm just amazed that these guys are still running 28, low 28, 28 seconds, 28.6 seconds. They're riding on these tires over 50 laps on these tires, and they're still running them times. That's extremely good.
It's quite impressive to see that some guys are still running times this quick. And, well, we thought Boyd Hogan had his hands full about 30 laps ago. Well, we'll check back on them now, because it has not gotten any easier for the 96. In fact, he just lost a couple tenths on the last lap because he got loose off of both ends of the racetrack, both turn 2 and in turn 4. So Hogan is continuing to struggle with his equipment, but I think at this point everybody is doing the same, because it's just impossible to keep your car going where you want it to be going right now.
Well, yeah, as you say that, Boyd Hogan is approximately a half a track away from the leader, Clayton Hoffman, in that 92 machine. And it's still, I mean, we've got Brian Johnson. He's roughly about 8.5 seconds or 8.2 seconds in front of Boyd Hogan. So this is definitely a track where clean air appears to be the key.
Sullivan and Wachinski are both also close to the battle for 9th place. The two cars have been trying to fend off the 21 for some time now. We're continuing to get closer and closer to this halfway point. Sullivan does have damage, but so does Wachinski. Both of them on the right front. They've got Kenny Powell behind them, Matt Cisda right in the middle. So Powell's trying to keep up with this battle here, as these guys are battling for the last 2 spots in the top 10.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out when we're going to pit. It's anybody's guess now. We got 69 laps on these tires. I'm guessing they're going to take it to probably 80 laps. I'm guessing they're going to make this a one-stop race and see what it does for them.
Paul Olsen is still running 2 laps down, has not regained his lap from way back when, and at this point he's only about half a second faster than the race leader as well. So he is still has not been having nearly as big as a performance advantage that I think either of us really thought he might. One other battle that's getting closer as well that I'm starting to notice, Al, is Justin Belmonte and Chris Johnson for 6th and 7th on the racetrack.
Yeah, I thought there's something going on with Chris Pfeiffer in that 42. He came to an extremely 120-mile-an-hour slow up coming off of turn 2. And he's in these corners at like 102 miles an hour, which is extremely slow in these corners. So I don't know if he's trying to just make it to lap 80 and make this a one-stop, but he is taking these corners very... I mean, he's not even 100 miles an hour in these corners, no one. It's simply amazing. Some of these guys are trying to stretch this out. I don't know if it's going to be the smart thing to do or not.
Matthew Sisda has just come down to pit road, the second driver to do so all race long, and roughly 15 laps after Paul Olsen came down for his last stop. So it seems like the cars that are laps down are the ones that are going to be the first to come down. That is mighty interesting.
Well, I guess if you're Clayton Hoffman and Brian Johnson, I mean, why? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, they're out there just riding along 10 seconds in front of, you know, 3rd and 4th. Why take a chance of pitting and a caution come out, you know?
Boyd Hogan hits pit road, the first of the lead lap cars to come on down to the lane. Had a bit of a twitchy moment on the entry, but apart from that, he's in there clean and green. So Hogan looks like he's going to be going for the undercut on his battle with Wayne Grossi for 3rd. Pops the car up on the right side with the jacks. He's going to get a fresh set of 4 tires, full tank of gas. Looks like he'll be getting set to run this one out to the end with 83 laps remaining.
Yeah, that's probably... I think that's wise, but I don't think it's as smart a move as he thinks it is, because when these guys on the lead lap pit, which should be any time now, they're going to be on that much fresher tires. So by the time that, well, I guess it really won't matter, because the last time by, you know, Boyd Hogan was still running roughly, you know, 28.7s, 28.8, so he wasn't losing that much.
Now the question is going to be, what lap times is Hogan running in comparison to Wayne Grossi? Because they were about 1 second apart when they were kind of trying to battle together last time by. And I tell you right now, Grossi is significantly slower. So the last lap by for Grossi was a 28.781. Boyd Hogan's first lap across the line, 27.156. So just one lap will already put Hogan ahead of Grossi.
Yeah, that's about a second and a half faster than our leaders right now. And again, on an average, you can come around this track, you know, roughly 27 laps. You'll make up that he'll catch that leader right there. But he got to get back on that lead lap, and that's where the interesting thing is. He going to abuse his tires to get back on that lead lap?
It's going to be rough here for a lot of these drivers, as there is still a very long time to go. Justin Belmonte appears to might have had issues.
Here comes the leader.
There's Brian Johnson in as well. Clayton Hoffman has elected to continue to stay out.
Yeah, I think he's going to shoot himself in the foot by doing this. I would hope not, because he had he's got 10-second gap between him and second place now. I mean, that's a lot of time. He comes on pit road and he knocks out a 24-second pit stop, then he's only going to be 14 seconds behind the leader, and he can make that up extremely fast.
So you might have noticed Justin Belmonte dropping down the timing screens. He is in pit road now, but he dropped several seconds earlier. The reason for that, got loose off of turn 4, I believe on lap 76, slammed the inside wall. Didn't bring out a caution because he kept going straight, but it was definitely the hardest hit we've seen all race long. Now Clayton Hoffman is down to pit road, so is Chris Johnson, Jeff Shutt, Wachinski, Powell also down to the lane. That leaves Grossi and Pfeffer still out on the racing surface, yet to come in.
Yeah, I think Pfeffer's trying to get himself in a great position, but I do believe Wayne Grossi in that 7 machine just came down pit road.
Indeed he did. Correct me if I'm wrong, but do we give out points for just leading the lap?
Yes, sir. You do get bonus points for just leading the lap. So maybe something that Christopher Pfeffer and that 42 machine is thinking he can do. Or maybe he's thinking, I've got a 6-second gap or 16-second gap between me and second place. Maybe I'll ride this out for a little bit. But I think he's coming down pit road here shortly. He's got to. I don't know how many more laps he can make.
He definitely was out there trying to get the point for leading the lap, and I think he has finally managed to accomplish that. So we're going to be seeing it coming down here surely within the next 2-3 laps or so, if not this lap here. I would be surprised if you didn't see him come down this time by, because at this point, he's the only driver that hasn't come down and pitted this entire time, and he's continuing to stay out. What are you doing, good sir? At this point, Hogan's on the same lap and 21 seconds behind you. So Hogan's going to take the lead at this rate.
Well, 21 seconds is a long time because right behind him is Clayton Hoffman. And Clayton Hoffman is on roughly, let's see, he's on roughly 5 or 6 laps fresher tires. So he can abuse them for another 5 laps more than Boyd Hogan can.
And Hoffman is only 7/10 behind Hogan and really that fast. He's running half a second in this one corner. I beg your sweet pardon. Hoffman is on a charge. He's just caught Sullivan. He's going to sweep underneath him to put him a lap down. And we're about to see a battle here for the net race lead heat on up.
Oh, yeah, Clayton Hoffman is on rails. He just ran a 27 flat damn near. 27 flat. I mean, he is extremely running.
Yeah, that's only about 3/10 off of his fastest lap of the race, which is a 26.739. And Clayton Hoffman sweeps through on the back straightaway to take the net race lead. I say net race lead because they're not in the race lead at the moment. It's for second. But if Pfeffer comes in, these guys will be back for the front. And look at the gap that Hoffman has already pulled as well. I mean, for crying out loud, Boyd Hogan, he might have done that stop a little too early. Now Pfeffer comes down to the lane. He's going to be shuffled out a long way back because it's about a 42-second total pit delta.
Yeah, but that's only going to put him like 16 seconds behind the leader. And at this point right now, 16 seconds could put him out somewhere in 5th or 6th.
And in this box now, we'll have to see where he sits when he comes out of pit road. For now, let's keep an eye, though, on this battle here because now Hogan's about to lose another spot here. He's dumped outside of the podium now as Brian Johnson finds his way through, the driver we rode along with at the top of today's broadcast.
Yeah, I believe Christopher Pfeffer is going to come out 7th. I mean, he's coming off pit road right now.
It's actually.
You'll probably come off roughly right around 6th or 7th.
His place, actually, officially, from what I've seen on my time screens for Pfeffer, he's still got another 3 seconds back to 6th.
Yeah, but he's got to get those tires heated up before he gives the pedal here. So he's in a good spot. He really is. He literally came out 5th. That's not bad for staying out that long. I mean, this is pretty good for him. He started this race in 12th.
Hogan is now being slowed up by lap traffic here as Rybczynski just shoved his way through on the inside. Did not want to have any of what Boyd Hogan was wanting to dish out. So Hogan is now battling with lap cars. This will not feel good at all for him, especially since they're about to lap there another bit of traffic. And at this point, you got 3 cars that are all going to be battling, and neither one of them are on the same lap as each other. That's never a good feeling.
Well, after those pit stops all cycled through, everybody got some fresh tires and everything. Now we've still got Clayton Hoffman and Brian Johnson up there. They're about 1.4 seconds apart. Boyd Hogan's riding back about 3 seconds behind the leader. And then behind Boyd Hogan in the 4th spot is Wayne Grossi, who is 13 seconds behind your leader already. So this is looking like a 2 or 3 car battle here for the win.
Closer to 2 because Hogan has just continued to drop back ever since. I mean, he has just not had any sort of speed. Paul Olsen has come down to pit road for a 2nd time. It's a bit of an interesting call. He's only been out there for 32 laps.
Yeah, he must be having problems with that race machine of his.
Oh, he's just exited the vehicle. He's taking it to the garage, it looks like.
Yeah, he's not been happy with it.
We wanted to see one of our first retirements of the day. Of course, we got Belmonte and Hill as well. Christopher Hill retired about 67 laps ago. Justin Belmonte retired about 12 laps ago. So a couple drivers have backed out early. Boyd Hogan is still due bound with all this lap traffic, and he is not having a fun time right now. He's got Kenny Powell right behind him now, who's going to be anxious to find a way through. He just about made more contact with Chad Sullivan. I never thought we'd be seeing lead lap cars battling with lap traffic harder than they've been battling with each other.
Well, Nolan, here we are in a pandemic here. It looks like there's going to be, in about 3 laps, or maybe 4 laps, we're only going to have 5 cars on the lead lap. Because right now we only have 7 cars on the lead lap, and Clayton Hoffman is reeling in the 48 machine of Chris Johnson, and he's only got to put him down a lap, and then Christopher Pfeffer in that 42 machine, he's only literally about 2 seconds.
Oh no! Hogan's lost it! Hogan just spun out! Powell just shoved Boyd Hogan around, and the caution flag is out! What? That was a bit of a clumsy move there, but Kenny Powell just took out Boyd Hogan.
Now it's looking like Kenny got a. Oh, it looks like it was a difference of communication between those 2 drivers. It looks like Kenny Powell was a little bit faster than Boyd Hogan off that corner, and Boyd didn't know if Kenny was going to go higher, but he was going to low, and Kenny gave him the bumper, letting him know he's back there. But luckily, even though Boyd lost it, he didn't hit anything other than his rear bumper got hit by Kenny Powell in that 24 machine. Now that's going to be a rough deal for Kenny because he's got front end damage now. So he's better reel down some of that tape he's got in front of that car. Otherwise, he could end up with a blown engine from overheating. So this is going to be interesting. This is going to close things up. This might be a huge benefit for Boyd Hogan or Brian Johnson, as we got to basically restart this race. And we're 92 laps in. By the time we restart, it'll be 95. That's 61 laps left in this race.
Several drivers have come on down to pit road. Not much surprise there. Tell you what, while we're under caution, let's take ourselves another quick commercial break. And we'll be right back when we come around to take the green flag. Still under caution for the first time today for the GTEYE at 156, coming around to 61 laps to go. I think we're going to be going green this time by. Looks like your race leader, Clayton Hoffman, is going to be picking that inside row. 2 lap cars going to be getting the way for round 1 of those. The result of the caution, Kenny Powell gave Boyd Hogan the bumper in turn 1 and just turned him around to bring out our first yellow of the race.
Well, Nolan, let's jump on an off topic here and hope that somebody in iRacing is listening. What in the Sam Hill is that damn pace car? I mean, I don't know what it is. It looks like an old Renault, or I have no idea. What happened to our Ford Mustangs or our Toyota Camrys and the Chevy Camaros? We have this thing up here mean, I don't know what the hell it is. It's a mixture of something.
Comment on that from me, but I have a feeling there are some very mixed feelings about it kind of all over the place when it comes to the IRC paddock. Hoffman is starting to slow the field up a little bit here. This might get entertaining. Looks like the last stragglers are just now getting to the back of the field, so they're going to be caught up right in time. Clayton Hoffman on the loud pedal. We're back. Green flag racing. Great jump for the 92. Gets well cleared for it to even ad-lib. English is clearly not my first length today before they even get to start finish.
Yeah, but now with Boyd Hogan, he's going to go to the inside, and he makes a very clean pass. He wants the leader. Clayton Hoffman, historically throughout this race, has been able to control. And let's see what Boyd Hogan's got for him here.
And Boyd Hogan has actually done very well to keep up as far as he was, considering he was the one that was spun out to bring out that first caution flag of the race. He's trying to keep up with him, but he is having a hard time. Clayton Hoffman has just been so strong all day long. I genuinely don't think Boyd Hogan is going to really have anything for him based on how far behind Hogan was originally on the initial race start. Now Christopher Pfeffer has started to pressure Brian Johnson as well for third, we should mention as well. And Pfeffer's up 8th for where he started today.
Yeah, let's watch this battle as it pursues here. And Boyd Hogan is only a half a second behind him. And let's see if this gap increases or decreases. Well, let's watch and see how much Boyd Hogan beats his tires up here. They should be both on the same set of tires. The only car that stayed out would be the Kenny Powell and Cecil Keith. They're on 20-lap tires. Everybody else came in and pitted that last caution.
And those two cars did that so they could get their laps back. So that puts Kenny Powell back onto the lead lap, and that will make us at 9 cars on the lead lap, apart from the 7 that we had just earlier today. Of course, one of those was a lucky dog free pass.
It looks like Clayton Hoffman has extremely good drive off these corners and is getting these corners fairly well. And I'm looking and watching Boyd Hogan. He's trying to reel in his time by digging in his corners a little too deep, and that's going to use up his tires, I believe. Even if he does, by chance, able to get the lead, he's not going to be able to hold it that long.
Looks like we got a battle further in the field for 6th, 7th, and 8th. Chris Johnson is leading the train of 3. Jeff Shutt is trying to keep Wachinski behind him, but Wachinski in that 2 car is closing in real fast. Backs off a bit because he allows Jeff Shutt to overrun the corner. Shutt runs really wide, and Wachinski opens up the door for himself. I think there may have been a little bit of contact there as well. Now trying to squeeze that 25 into the wall, and Jeff Shutt wisely backs out.
Yeah, you better concede if you're in the outside, otherwise that inside driver is going to push you somewhere, and you'll probably take a chance of taking both of you out. Meanwhile, Nolan, back up front, it looks like Clayton Hoffman has almost got a second gap between him and Boyd Hogan. It is increasing. The battle between 2nd and 3rd, that should be an interesting unfold because they're only a half a second apart.
I'm telling you, Hogan doesn't have anything. Hoffman is the one to beat today. He has been in the lead since the start of this race, the net race lead at least, save for Boyd Hogan's valiant undercut attempt, which was probably destroyed just a few laps later. And now, Hogan does have that official 1 second gap between him and first again, and it's only been about 4 or 5 laps since took that green flag. Hoffman is just so good at this place. Nobody can get close to him right now.
Well, what Boyd's biggest problem right now is that 4 machine of Brian Johnson because he is closing in.
GD is continuing to close in, as a matter of fact, as they're now, about 3/10 apart right there, I want to say. So this could get interesting here for 3rd if these guys get side by side, because we know how much Boyd Hogan loves to pinch.
Yeah, I think he's going to get smacked instead of pinching. I mean, it's going to depend on what line. I do believe, knowing Boyd, he's going to be a gentleman and say to himself, listen, I know you're faster than me. I'm going to take the high line, you take the low line, just get around me without wrecking me because I'd rather finish podium of 3rd than last by being wrecked out. So we'll see some some kind of interesting passing going on here, probably in about 3 laps. I don't think Boyd's going to let him by that easily. He's probably hoping to himself that number 4 machine is using up his equipment, trying to stay with him. But as Brian said during the pre-race, right along with him, I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's just going to preserve his tires and hope that Hogan is using up his equipment. In the meantime, Clayton Hoffman's just left. He's a second and a half almost away from second place.
Under 2/10 now. The pass on Boyd Hogan seems imminent. Brian Johnson trying to find a gap now at this point in time rather than trying to actually get close. He is definitely well within striking distance here. He's trying to diamond off the corner here of 3 and 4 to get that run all the way down the front straightaway into turn number 1. Don't think he's going to be able to get that quite here. We are now under 50 laps remaining.
Boy, Brian Johnson is not leaving. I mean, he is right on his tail. Every part of the track that Boyd Hogan goes on, Brian Johnson's right behind him. He is like his shadow right now. He is pressuring him in hopes that he makes a mistake. The wind between them could create a problem for either one of these drivers. The draft could cause problems for the rear end of Boyd Hogan or the front end. Oh yeah, Boyd just conceded and said take it, as he knows that could cause him some problems. His rear end can get extremely squirrely. So now Brian Johnson and that 4 machine needs to reel back in that 1.5 second gap between him and Clayton Hoffman.
While all this has been going on, they're having battles elsewhere. Chris Johnson is having some struggles here on this restart. He's about to lose a spot to Chad Sullivan. He's already lost out spots ahead to Jeff Shutt and Greg Wachinski, who he gave some very hard fights. At this point, though, Johnson is also playing the conservative card, just like Hogan is, trying to just see how far ahead he can finish with as little damage on his car as possible.
Yeah, again, if you were watching any or were involved in any A-Open races this week or the NIS ran approximately about the same amount of laps as we're running tonight. And at this point, we were already, I think we had like 65 caution laps at this point. I mean, so these guys are extremely better than that. We're talking about 1 caution. These guys are running it.
The only battle we got on track at the moment is for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th between Brian Johnson, Boyd Hogan, and I was going to say Christopher Pfeffer, he has just dropped out of the proverbial red box that lists where the battles are throughout the field. So it's between Hogan and Johnson at the moment for 2nd and 3rd, but the gap there is only continuing to grow here.
Yeah, the dominating car is going to be Clayton Hoffman. He has led every lap except for the minimal few that Wayne Grossi and Christopher Pfeiffer had led. Maybe even Brian Johnson might have led a couple laps here and there, but it looks like Clayton Hoffman came to Phoenix with a setup to win.
Well, while we got a little bit of downtime before we really get into the closing stages of the race, let's kind of go over, because of course we do run the our RC Stock Car Association ButtKicker Cup Series, and Season 2 is kicking off next week at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll kind of run through the schedule for you for Season 2 actually here real quick. We started off our 163 lap race at Atlanta. Then we headed over to Bristol. One race that on April Fool's Day, still yet to be determined. Wouldn't it be funny if we got a joke track on a day like that, like Brands Hatch or something like that. Then comes Martinsville. Richmond follows up after that, so we got about 3 short tracks in 1 month. That is quite something. Immediately after that, we go to Talladega. So from the short tracks to the super speedways, that is going to be a very, very entertaining first half of the season. From there, it kind of settles down. You got Kansas, Darlington, Dover. Then we go to Circuit of the Americas, 200 lapper at Charlotte before we end it off at Sonoma for season number 2, which will be roughly, I want to say, race number 18 at that point for the Super Cup Series.
Well, definitely, Nolan. Some of those races are going to be very interesting, as they just made a change to iRacing. Talladega and Daytona, they've kind of put a little bit of realism in that. So the drafting, as I ran Talladega last night, the drafting is extremely different than it has been. It's not like it used to be where you could use an outside line or you could side draft. They've taken away some of those effects, and it makes it a little bit harder to race at Talladega and Daytona. So that ought to be interesting. And I do believe Is that Boyd Hogan coming down pit road?
It is. Boyd Hogan comes down pit road with just 39 laps remaining. This is a very interesting call here from Hogan. This is going to be his third stop on the day. He did stop once under caution.
Maybe he's thinking to himself that he needs those extra laps, but we've only got 40 laps less to finish this race. I don't think he can do anything with that. Maybe he's hoping and praying that it's going to go green and something spectacular is going to happen, but I don't know what that decision was. Anyways, getting back to our racing schedule, Nolan, are we running Bristol dirt?
That is still yet to be determined, but I believe we were talking about this actually with Kenny before this race today, and he was saying that there are plans to put both Bristol Dirt and iRacing Super Speedway on the calendar. Oh boy. What a...
That'd be very interesting.
Well, I'm just thinking here, how crazy would it be if we had Bristol Dirt right after the actual Bristol race? So it starts off Atlanta, Bristol, Bristol Dirt, Martinsville, Richmond, Talladega. That is, I think, the biggest barnstormer of a first half of the season I would have ever seen in my entire life.
If you want to see a demolition derby, I watched an A open on these cars on that Bristol Dirt, and they are uncontrollable. The individual that has the balance correct to run that track without getting crazy sideways, slamming into others, is going to be a champion, because that is an extremely hard track to master.
I've just noticed something now. Boyd Hogan's not in his car. In fact, his car is not even on the track anymore. He's taking it to the garage.
Yeah, Boyd has called it a night. He must have had some damage that was just too much to handle, and he just said, you know, before I wreck somebody out, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. So that puts the 42 of Christopher Pfeiffer back in third place, and he is roughly about a second, almost a second and a half in front of the 7 car of Wayne Grossi. So that could benefit Christopher Pfeiffer if he can keep that 42 machine away from the wall and away from other drivers.
Back to the schedule, I have one more question for you. This is more just a curiosity thing of what you know, because you've been around this league for a lot longer than I have. So, if/when we go to Bristol Dirt, will there be heat races, or will it just be the usual qualifying into the normal race?
Well, that is a very interesting question, and I'm not going to speak of that. Whatever information I may or may not know, I want to leave it to a surprise. It's been undetermined. There are rumors that we're going to have some of these stage races coming up in the league, and I'm not going to say it's going to be the next season, but it is in the works. So we have some interesting tosses around that we're going to do with some of the way we race more closely to like the real NASCAR schedule where they have the stages. So let's just keep that on the back burner, and we'll make that announcement here soon. In the meantime, why don't we go ahead and I'm absolutely loving my ButtKicker, and I want to give some thanks to them. So why don't we go ahead and stop right quick here, and let's have a commercial break, and let's give a special thanks out to ButtKicker for the wonderful participation that they will be joining us again next season with the ISCA.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com, and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
The battle for the lead is starting to close. Clayton Hoffman has lost significant time to Brian Johnson. That gap now under a second, just 8/10, and continuing to close. Hoffman's certain win might not be so certain after all.
Well, Nolan, those of you folks that seen that commercial we just ran with the ButtKicker, you do have an opportunity to get 20% off if you use ISCA 20, I believe, is the code you need to use at checkout, and that'll get you 20% off. And believe me, at full caution. Hold on, let's see what happened here.
Matthew Cisna, exit of turn 2. It looks like this was just a self-spit, possibly clipped the apron and won. That's exactly what happened. Just lost that back end all by his lonesome. That brings out the caution for the second time tonight with 29 laps remaining.
They're going to come down pit road. They are definitely going to do that. Anyways, Nolan, getting back to the butt kicker, I've had the system for roughly about, 4 or 5 months now. And that is absolutely the first thing I turn on every time I get into my rig, because I want the realism, the feel of the engines, the shifting of the gears. When I get loose, when I hit somebody, this butt kicker reacts, and it gives me the sensation that I'm actually in that car. So if you want the realism inside your rig, for whether you do flying simulators or racing simulators, or if you just want to get the butt kicker just to watch a movie, you can watch any of these movies. You get Jurassic Park, and you can feel the dinosaurs as they walk across the greens. It's amazing. So check out a butt kicker and enjoy that 20% off coupon.
Just joining us, then you're a bit late to the party, but hey, better late than never. Welcome to the GTEYE 156. We're under caution flag number 2. The entire first half of the race was run green. Both these cautions come in the second half, and about, I want to say about 40 laps apart. Now, though, the leaders are in pit road. Clayton Hoffman, I believe, is going to be the first driver to lead them out of pit road. Christopher Pfeffer picks up the second position, with Brian Johnson falling back to third. I believe it was Chad Sullivan who got that Lucky Dog free pass. Yes, it was. Chad Sullivan, 21 car with the Lucky Dog free pass. He gets back on the lead lap.
Wow, we've got a new second place. It looks like the Christopher Pfeffer come out before Brian Johnson.
And he is the new hard charger as well in the race. It was looking to be Boyd Hogan, who would have worked his way up from basically stone dead last up to third. Now Pfeffer is up there. He started 12th, and he's up into second. Now worked his way up 10 positions from where he started earlier today.
It sounds like we have a little radio chatter there. The number 2 machine of Greg Wyszynski had a little bit of a glitch, and as he came out of that glitch, like a Wrecking Ralph kind of a scenario there, he caught the wall. So he's got a little damage on his front end. I don't know how that's going to affect him, but lucky for him, he only has roughly about 24, 23 laps when we go green to worry about it.
He also claimed it was fun when he hit the wall. Something tells me he was being a little bit sarcastic when he said that.
Nolan, I see usually iRacing puts out a yellow flag, but there's a white flag next to it. Do you see that on your screen?
I do not. I don't know what you're seeing up there.
I was wondering what the heck that was. It just didn't make any sense to me. I didn't know if they were calling this an early race or what.
I mean, on road course racing, a white flag, a waved white flag at least, could mean not the last lap, but in fact that there is a safety vehicle on course ahead. The only safety vehicle I can see is the pace car, though, and it's about to come on in.
Let's see if that white flag leaves. I've never seen that before. I didn't know if that was an update that iRacing put out or something. That it's kind of confusing me there.
Well, we'll have 25 to go when we take the green. A quarter of 100 laps remaining in this one. Roughly 25 miles, or just under that, just over, excuse me, depending on how you look at the track lights. Pace car is going to take him on back down to pit road. Clayton Hoffman got a massive jump last time by. Would expect him to do similar here. The field's stacking up. Hoffman gets a bit of a tap there from Brian Johnson, and that is what launched him. Half the field checks up big behind him. Brian Johnson nearly wipes out Pfeffer on the restart. So a bit of a messy restart there. Calamity all over the place as we dive into turn number 1, and it looks like so far we've somehow kept it out of each other.
Yeah, these top 3 are really battling. Somebody wants this win. It looks like Clayton Hoffman's saying, "Come and get me, boys." He likes to see this in his rearview mirror, because the more they can battle like that, the better chance he has of pulling away.
Johnson just gave the bumper to the 42 again, so Johnson wants to retake that second position, and he's only got 23 laps to do so. Not a lot of time at all, considering how fast these laps can tick on by. We're talking about less than 20 minutes remaining in this race. Brian Johnson does not have a lot of time if he wants to go for the win. I still say, though, that Clayton Hoffman is going to have this one wrapped up.
Don't count your chickens before they're hatched, my friend. Brian Johnson in that 4 machine, he's already shown that he's got a very fast hot rod, and he wants to pass Christopher Pfeiffer. He may put the bumper to him, spin him out, bring out another caution, and that's going to put him up front with Clayton Hoffman for another restart.
Tried to look for the inside, but unfortunately lost momentum as he hit the transitioning on the dog legs. One of the hazards going down there. You do lose a bit of speed when you go over the transitioning because of how it shakes the car around. So because of that, Pfeiffer is able to stay ahead of Brian Johnson for the time being. Johnson's trying to take the wider entry. He's trying to arc it through the middle of the corners to get the runs off, but it just isn't working for him.
Yeah, Brian Johnson in that 4 machine needs to go a little bit deeper in that dog leg to get the much speed off of there. But then he has to exit and come onto this turn here, which is not going to be fair because you got to use your brakes. And if he burns them up, he eats up that front tire. And if you eat up that front tire, you have a bulldozer.
20 laps remaining here in the GTEYE 156 for race number 5 in the iRacing Stock Car Association Super ButtKicker Cup Series. Has been a good one. 2 cautions so far on the day, and no doubt of quite a few incidents, so to speak, as the cars getting to lose the left to go. Pfeiffer continuing to try to hold that inside line. Johnson trying to find the outside, this time through 1. Clips the wall as well on the exit.
It looks like we got the 24 machine. He's got some battling in front of him that he's not liking. He's seeing these guys right in front of him that they're tight. And he doesn't know what they're going to do. He's just afraid that he can not check up. He doesn't want to get in the mix of that because these guys are trying to race for a position up there, and they are racing like it's the last lap.
Brian Johnson is on the inside of Pfeiffer now for second. Got there in the dog leg. Pfeiffer's trying to squeeze him in on the apron of turn 4. So it's going to be a drag race off of turn number 4 to start-finish line. Johnson weeble-wobbling all over the place this time. Trying to get the pass started in turn number 1. They almost banged doors this time. With 17 laps remaining, the Ford car continues to hold strong on the inside.
Yeah, there's that professionalism. I mean, Brian Johnson could have easily pushed him up there just a little bit and took him out. Then he takes a risk of taking him out himself. So good job, Brian Johnson, in that 4 machine. As he easily comes past that 42 machine there at Reaper Speed Lab. It doesn't look like Reaper's got the setup this week. I mean, Boyd Hogan called it quits earlier, and now we've got Christopher Pfeiffer. He's running in 3rd, but maybe it's a long run setup they got this week, but I definitely don't think they got a short run setup.
Honestly, that was a bit of a surprising move there that Pfeiffer didn't cut back, but it is what it is. You can only go battling like that for so long before somebody's got to break free. Powell, meanwhile, speaking of battles, is trying to have a go at Greg Wyszynski here. They both ran wide in turn 1 and turn 4 last time round. Now Powell's still trying to find the way out there, but he gets loose on the inside now.
Yeah, Powell was involved in that little bit of incident earlier that brought out caution with Boyd Hogan, and he surprisingly doesn't have much damage to that front end.
Well, it wasn't too hard of a hit. It was just enough to send Hogan around, which is so unfortunate for Hogan because he was having such a good day up until that point, and it, I guess, just went down the tubes from there. Chris Johnson just messed up big time exit of 4. I think he might have nailed the wall or just lost a lot of speed because now Cesar has gotten through in the battle for 10th and 9th place. Johnson to the 48 trying to fight back, but he just doesn't have anything for him. And now he's got to focus on defense here against Randy Drumhiller.
Yeah, it looks like Clayton Hoffman, he's walking away with this. He's a 2.5 in front there, and if nothing goes on, if there's not another caution, he literally only has to make around 12 more travels around this track, and he's got himself a win.
And kind of looking through, it would be his first win of the Super Cup Series season, so someone that he would desperately need. It would definitely leapfrog him over Dan Shamoon and over Nick Robinson, and in fact over Jonathan Delaney. I believe this might allow for Clayton Hoffman to come pretty dang close to taking the points lead away from Boyd Hogan. The only thing that's going to stop is the fact that Hogan competed in this race. So he should come out of this roughly 15 points or less behind Hogan in the points battle here.
Yeah, I mean, we got to take into consideration that he's probably going to get bonus points for leading a lap, bonus points probably for leading the most laps, and if he wins, he's going to get the points for winning. So, I mean, it may be even closer than that once the dust settles. I mean, but definitely we have some tracks coming up that are pretty strong events for Boyd Hogan. So if Clayton does take the lead or gets extremely close to Boyd Hogan, he's going to have to bring his A game in the next couple races in order to stay up there right with him or possibly pass him.
We've been watching that battle for 7th and 8th kind of develop over the past little while, and Powell is still trying to find a way underneath Wachinski. He got mighty close last time by off 3 and 4. They were side by side. Now Wachinski eases off as Powell dives it way under the dogleg and clears by the time they get to 3 and 4. But now that 2 car is going to try to force the issue here around the outside. They're catching Matthew Cisna, who was the driver that brought up the last caution with his self-spin off of turn 2. We got less than 10 to go. If he wants to get that spot back, he's going to have to make something work here, and he's got to do it now.
Yeah, Kenny Powell has got a windshield full of a very loose 10 car in that Matthew Cisna there, and Matthew looks like he's just going to barely stay with it, so he stays away from that wall. And he
hits the hard wall inside front straightaway.
Did he get into it with Greg Wachinski?
Well, they didn't make contact, but Wachinski just lost it all by himself on the exit of turn 4, coming to the front straightaway. It's a mistake that we've seen so many times already today.
I guess I'm just not used to seeing a transition from 170 miles an hour down to 90 miles an hour in these turns. I mean, it makes it look like they're just crawling.
Well, 100 miles an hour is still a lot of speed to be working with here. Now Wachinski is having to do battle with Chris Johnson, and this is all with less than 10 laps to go. We're about 7 laps to go at the moment. That 48 car, he's looking to make one more spot before the race is done, and now with all that front-end damage that Wachinski has now, it's going to be hard for that 2 to hang on.
Well, just for the folks, the viewers that are watching, the 4 car of Brian Johnson and the 48 car of Christopher Johnson are related. Brian Johnson is, I believe, Chris Johnson's older brother. So the Johnson brothers are doing fairly well. I mean, we've got one in 2nd place and one in the top 10.
It's not terribly hard, though, to be inside the top 10 when the only other cars outside the top 10 are laps down or DNFs.
Well, Nolan, I really did not want to say that, even with the field of only 16 drivers and 4 of those drivers are out. I mean, it shouldn't be too hard to get in the top 10, but I didn't want to take any of that thunder away from that 48 machine because he has done really well throughout this race to be able to stay actually up in here. He's only really lost 3 positions from when he started. He started this race in 6th.
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, in order to finish in the top 10, you still have to keep your nose clean. That's something that Chris Johnson, while he hasn't been the fastest car on track, he has been doing that all day long. So, props to Chris Johnson. He's one of the few drivers who still has a car that is looking pretty much intact. I wish I could say the same for some other guys on the grid right now.
We can get out of that car, put it in the hauler, and take it to the next race. Race it again.
3 laps remaining. Clayton Hoffman is over a 2nd gap here on Brian Johnson as we're coming around to take 2 laps to go here, Al. It's been a clinic here for the 92 car.
Oh, yeah. Clayton Hoffman has taken these guys to school today. He has ran a phenomenal race, and he showed them exactly what he brought the race with, and he's brought it to win with. I mean, he's got less than, 7 turn rights, and he's going to be a winner at Phoenix.
So coming off of turn 4 for the penultimate time tonight, the white flag officially in the air. We will not be going to overtime, and we'll be finishing this on the scheduled 156 lap distance, just under an hour and a half since we started the race here today. It's been an absolutely beautiful run for Hoffman. He's going to get the point for leading the most laps for sure. He's led almost all of them except for, I believe, about 10 or 11 laps or so. But for Clayton Hoffman, once again, he's going to find himself in victory lane, this time for the first time in the ISCA Stock Car Association ButtKicker Super Cup Series for round number 6. The GTEYE 156 will go to the 92 car as he takes the checkered flag and wins it again, and this time for the first time in the Super Cup Series for round number 6. Beautiful run for him.
As we finish this one out, we've got obviously the winner of that 92 machine, Clayton Hoffman. Second place is that 4 machine of Brian Johnson. Third would be the 42 of Christopher Pfeffer. Fourth would be the 7 of Wayne Grossi. And from that back on, we have Jeff Shutt, Chad Sullivan, Kenny Powell, Chris Johnson, Greg Wachinski, Cecil Keith, Randy Drumhiller, Matthew Cisna, Boyd Hogan, Paul Olson, Justin Belmonte, and rounding out the top 16 driver will be Christopher Hill. As we watch Clayton Hoffman doing his little burnouts out there on the front stretch there, and he almost kept it off the wall.
Hard to keep it off the wall when doing burnouts over here. I do like the Denny Hamlin style, though, of doing while you're still going forward. Tell you what, while we watch him celebrate down there, let's take a quick break here, and we'll be back with the post-race show right after this.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at TheButtKicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
The post-race show underway here for the GTEYE 156 here at Phoenix Raceway. It's been a clean 156 laps, only 2 cautions, both for single car incidents with almost no damage done to either machine. Looks like we're just about ready here to bring on up some of the drivers here that were down there on the podium here today. I believe, Al, you are standing by with our third place finisher of the night, Christopher Pfeffer in the 42.
Christopher Pfeffer, how we doing tonight, buddy? That was a good run.
We're doing good, man. That was the first race in the league, and I had a blast.
Well, looks like you did a phenomenal job there. Third place. It looks like you were working on second, maybe even a win here for a minute, but we had a little bit of difficulty. Was our setup? We didn't have a lot of practice for Phoenix this week, so I don't know if you guys over there at Reaper Speed Lab had a lot of time to put together a winning setup this week, but walk us through what was going on.
Oh man, we were a little bit off tonight, but we tried our best. You know, we did a lot of work in the pit stops to try to make it better, but we just didn't really have the short run to compete with Clayton and Brian. They had me by a couple of tenths sometimes, but yeah, I just tried to march my way through the field and do the best I can.
Well, the best you can is perfect because you come in third. I mean, that's really good. For the strength of field we had right now, that these guys were really charging, and we didn't have that many cautions, which was good to see. We had a few hiccups here and there. People got loose. I thought that it was going to be a lot worse than it was tonight. I thought more cars were going to get really loose coming off, and you guys didn't have much fall off on those tires. I mean, you were consistently, even at 70 lap worth of tires, you're still running the 28.4s, 28.5s, 28.6 laps.
Yeah, there's not too much fall off. this time around. But I knew there wasn't going to be many cautions. I've raced with pretty much everyone in the league quite often, in A Open and NIS. It's a good group of guys. They all know what they're doing. I didn't think there was going to be many cautions.
Well, we certainly had a commanding race for you guys in the top three. I mean, you guys walked away from it. Congratulations to that third. I know it's not a win, but hey, third place is not nothing to sneeze at. Great job tonight, Chris.
Yeah, man, thank you. I just want to thank my sponsors, ReaperSpeedLab.com, Legacy Esports. I wouldn't be quick without him. Boyd Hogan for all the help he does with the setups and everything, and Bruzy.
Well, congratulations again, Chris, for that third place, and we're going to be back here next week in Atlanta. You waiting for that one?
Yes, sir. Can't wait.
All right, buddy. We'll see you next week at Atlanta. Congratulations on your third place finish tonight.
Yes.
Brian Johnson, the Four Machine. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Brian Johnson. Is it your little brother, your younger brother, Chris Johnson, who's sitting back there in ninth? Or no, he finished 8th tonight.
Yeah, he didn't finish too bad. Got a top 10 out of it.
Well, quit bragging now, Brian. Congratulations on this second place win here. You look like you were competitive in the long runs and reeling Clayton Hoffman in. If this thing would have had 60 laps left in it and we would have went green, what do you think your odds are that you would have got this win?
Yeah, those cautions definitely messed us over there at the end. I felt like we had a little bit better long run car. Clayton was super fast. He was able to pull ahead by a couple of seconds, but it took me a while to run him down. But once I got within a second, I got into his dirty air, and we kind of leveled out. But worked hard on the setup, worked hard on the car. Southern Spiral Pipe car was super fast this week, all week. Yeah, I'm happy with the second place finish.
So, Brian, it would come to a shock to you if I was to tell you that Clayton Hoffman run a fixed setup tonight.
Believe it.
He ran it out. Well, Brian, good job on that second place finish, brother. You have any sponsors you want to thank?
Yeah, I want to thank Southern Spiral. I want to thank you, Kenny, putting on the show. It's one of the best leagues out there. Super clean race. I hated that we had that caution there at the end, but it is what it is. Still fun. Congrats, Clayton, on the win, and we'll see you next week.
Hey, buddy. Congratulations on that second place, and we'll talk to you again next week, hopefully.
Thanks, Al.
See if we can get a hold of Clayton Hoffman in that 92 machine. Clayton Hoffman, you got a copy?
I do, Al. How's it going?
Well, you don't sound like somebody that just went 156 laps and probably led 152 plus of them. You don't sound like you're too excited. You want to do this all over again?
No. The way the cautions fell really benefited me. My setup was not great on the long run. It was good, but Brian's about a tenth faster than me, and I think without those cautions, I wouldn't be able to get about a second and a half, almost 2-second lead a couple times, and stay out in front of him because he was charging hard there at the end. I think if we would have not had that last caution, it would have been neck and neck for a while, and he would have been likely that he would have passed me and end up winning this race.
Wait, and what was clean air to you here at this race? Was that a big player?
I don't think it was that big of a player here just because we didn't have a massive field with low downforce. Smaller field, and all three of us, well, after the first run, Christopher was up in the top 5, so we didn't have that much dirty air to deal with, so it really wouldn't have played a huge role. It definitely would have, made an impact, but I think Brian would have been able to still catch me, so I don't think it would have really affected him in the actual overall finish of the race.
Well, I'm definitely not going to take anything away from that fixed setup you ran tonight. That was a fantastic domination of Phoenix for you.
It wasn't the fixed setup, unfortunately, Al. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it was a setup I got, and like I said earlier, it was really good on the short run. I got my handling really good. I think Brian was really beating me in entry to 1 and 2, where my car, I was afraid if I gave it too much brake, it was going to spin out, or I was just going to burn through my left front tire. And I was getting my butt beat there, and that's how he's making up a lot of the time on me.
Well, you definitely, we can't take anything away because with your second, third, most of these guys in this field are all really good drivers. So to beat them, that's a huge accomplishment. So try to sound a little bit happier about that win next time we talk to you. Okay, Clayton? You got any sponsors you want to thank tonight?
I just thank my teammates, friends, G&G. They're real fun to practice with. Have a lot of ideas that we kind of throw out and try to work on some things as far as things that go into the setup, and kind of talk about some other things outside of our setups as far as rigs go, and some interesting things that we just kind of all share. We just have a real good bond with each other, so we just always enjoy practicing and racing with each other.
Well, I'm going to let my co-captain here, Nolan Rempel, I'm sure he's just eager and chewing at the bits to ask you a couple of things. So I'm going to let Nolan close us out, and congratulations on that win, Clayton.
Thank you.
Well, Clayton, we saw you finish. I'm going to kind of switch gears here, and I'm going to actually focus up here on the next round of the normal Cup Series that starts up next week at Atlanta for a 156-lap race there. I believe you finished third place total in the points last time round, with Boyd Hogan effectively out of the picture thanks to Road to Pro. Do you think you can maybe make a run at that title this coming season?
It's going to come down to consistency, and I think for me it's going to come down to getting a win. Last season I was not able to do that. I had some opportunities that I kind of let slip out, and I just got to really capitalize when I have a good car and a winnable, or a car capable of winning. I got to make sure that I capitalize as much as I possibly can and take advantage of anything thrown to me.
And of course, that's what we would all expect, and nothing more is for you to try to make the best of the obstacles that come your way, and hope that no obstacles coming your way in your charge. Hopefully next season we'll see you at the top of the scoring boards, and hopefully we can talk to you some more on that top step of the podium in the future. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Nolan.
Well, I believe, Al, that is going to just about wrap it up. It's been one entertaining race throughout the course of the day. 156 laps are complete. We're getting set for about 156 more next week at Atlanta, when Season 2 of the ISCA Stock Car Association's ButtKicker Cup Series kicks on off for the second season of 2021, and I believe for round number 7 of, course, the Super Cup Series. For now, though, it's been a thrill having every one of you watching us from start to finish over the course of the race. I've been Nolan Rempel, bringing you all the coverage from start to finish without Kozlowski beside me in the booth, and, of course, Rob Howden behind the cameras throughout the entirety of today's race. We thank you once again for joining us here tonight. We'll see you all next week.